to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we look at movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my slower than he used to be, fell off the map, hair still feathered nice, eye patch rocking co-host and bad mofo.
They call me Alex. Oh, sorry. No, it's Alex Tandino. Or Pliskin. Or whatever.
Pliskin. One of my names. I have a lot of monikers.
One of my minions. Wait, or sorry, Bob.
Just call me maybe. All right, guys. As always, if you like the show.
By your name.
Not anymore. If you like the show before this intro, please take a second and leave us a rating and review, especially if you find us on Apple Podcasts app. That helps us out a ton, guys. Go down there where you find the episode, click that 5-star, leave a brief sentence or two about why you like the show. That's all it is. It's fast, it's easy, it helps us a lot. For those of you that have been doing it, we see you, thank you, we appreciate it.
Preach.
Yeah, also, another thing you can do to help us out, shout us out on your social media. We're on all social medias you're on. So give us a follow, shout us out. That way we find more friends to bring into the pod. You can email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com, with your ideas for movies you'd like us to cover, themes, double features, guests to have on the show. If there's new stuff coming out that you want us to talk about, send it all over. I promise you it's on a master list that I am keeping, and someday I promise I will hit all these movies eventually, right? Alex has seen it. It's a long-ass list of suggestions and recommends we've got, so we're working on that.
Seen it. I contribute to it.
That's right.
Regularly.
We do this. This is our thing now. No. We have a mission, and we only have 9 hours. All right, guys. Also, you can see our faces at our YouTube channel, Nerd Alchemist, plural with an S at the end. All right, enough tomfoolery. Let's talk about some tomfoolery. It's called Escape from L.A.
Say, what are you talking about?
Alex, I don't know that I would rank...
Well, Griff, let me ask you a question.
Okay, we're going to go that way. All right.
Have you ever had deja vu?
Yeah, man.
But about a place on the opposite side of the country?
But you're older, but you
That's
still want to do
film
the same
Escape
stuff?
from L.A., my friend.
No, again, this is John Carpenter theme month, right? The pod calls it Carpenter. I don't know that I would say this is the top of John Carpenter's oeuvre. I don't know that this is one of the greatest sequels of all time. What I will tell you is that there are some wildly memorable moments and some things that I really like in here, mixed in with a lot of other weirder things. Alex, hit me up with a brief, your brief thoughts to start us off here on Escape from L.A.
As John Carpenter's only direct sequel he ever directed, I have to say, interesting choice. Apparently, and I did a lot of research, because again, like...
Kurt Russell writing this time as well.
Kurt Russell, Deborah Hill, and John Carpenter all write this. This was Kurt Russell's, like... Kurt Russell has been hounding John Carpenter for years to do a sequel to Escape from New York. And apparently, in 1986, they almost got one off the ground, but... And I'm not kidding, I read this online. They turned it down because they thought it was too light and too campy. So they waited 10 years, and we got Escape from L.A. Now,
they're like, we need to wait 10 years and then have a shark try to bite your one-man submersible by Underwater Universal Studios. Because that's the kind of hard-hitting shit that Snake Plissken gets into.
So, look, this is not like the greatest John Carpenter movie ever made, but it is a lot of fun, and there are some very, very memorable things going on in this movie that, again, I'm not sure they're memorable necessarily for the right reasons, but they're memorable nonetheless.
Some of them are, though. Some of them are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm not painting this with a broad brush and saying this movie is garbage, don't watch it, because we don't do that on this show.
No.
What I'm telling you is this movie is entertaining just as much as honestly, like, it does again what John Carpenter does so well, which is just entertain the fuck out of you. If you are coming to this movie expecting a geopolitical thriller about an isolated man going to an isolated place and experiencing some sort of realization about himself, turn it off immediately and go, watch like something else. Yeah. I don't know. Anything.
No.
That's not this movie.
The road this ain't, my friend. The road this ain't.
This movie is fun, action-packed madness.
This movie, to me, it's so weird because, again, probably the biggest, hardest obstacle to get over is that they're doing almost a beat-for-beat recreation of the first movie, but just less than at almost every turn, right? And that's a hard pill to swallow. The thing I like about this movie, though, is that it feels like this could be an alternate universe, right? Where Snake Plissken gets out, he gets his freedom. He fucks over the president. There's no world peace because he ripped the tapes, the tape apart from President Olive Garden kids menu. His like world peace and crayon plan. So. Right. That's where we leave Snake. This feels like if an executive who worked for something, let's say like in the 90s, what would have been a Lifetime movie version of, let's retell the Snake Plissken story.
Right.
And it feels like this, like so many things that go to Hollywood, it becomes cheaper, more plastic, more vapid, less good, but kind of bigger, louder, dumber, and, somewhat entertaining. So it feels like there is this, like, here's a fun thing that just, we see little changes at the start, right? Like, I like that when Snake now is getting brought to the prison island outside of Los Angeles, which has been separated by earthquakes because some guy prayed about how awful everyone in L.A. was.
Yeah, this movie is like if the president who got elected was like the guy who's on the 700 Club.
No, who's that guy who was like, COVID-19, and tried to blow the wind away with the hot breath of God? That guy is the president in Escape from L.A. So that is a fun launching point. But yeah, so this is a theocracy now where L.A. is now the destination for morally repugnant Americans, which we see the lines on that gets blurred, right? So L.A., is like this island where your citizenship's taken away and you're an undesirable, you're sent there, whatever.
You're deported, as they say numerous times.
Yes, and now this COVID-19 blower priest is elected president for life by some special law. And that's where we start, right?
By repealing the law that doesn't allow that.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, my God. Okay, so that's, it's like, hey, it's the exact same movie, but now we're going to also hate on religion. You're like, I'm down for that. That's fine. So...
Sure.
But what I like is when Snake gets out now, there is this new fun wrinkle in this one where now there is like a media throng. So now we have kind of the souped up Levon Cleef, right? Who's sitting there and he's like, you had it all, soldier boy. You had it all. You were one of our best. And now you're just a piece of shit, Snake. And he's like, what do you have to say for yourself?
Fuck, I love that
and
guy.
There's cameras everywhere, right? I think that is a fun new element to this, which is,
it is.
Now we're not only doing the America that'll wall off a major city and fill it with undesirables and just be horrible kind of imperialists. Now we're getting into this kind of propaganda apparatus, which is a fun thing they play with throughout the movie. So that is one of the things I think is a really good ad.
Definitely. It adds the level that you need to get through. Again, we talked about the last show, like the incredible opening of this movie. Like the elevator pitch premise is so fascinating, and they do such a good job of captivating you throughout the top. They do such a good job of that this time with simply making it about the media blitz that occurs. I'm not saying it's nearly as interesting the second time around, but this is the wrinkle you need to get you through it without you going like, oh God, we're going to do the same thing again. Like there are repeat vibes throughout the entire opening. Like even like walking down the corridor again, like instead of this time you can be cremated, like, yeah, we'll just electrocute you. And then, I don't know, we'll throw your body overboard. Like that's it. Like it's so bizarre.
You can imagine Kurt Russell sitting there with his pencil and his tablet. And he's like,
yes, by the way, this is a really important factoid.
But no, he's like, Snake invaded New York by air. What's the opposite of air? Oh, yes, sea invasion. And it's like, that's what the first act of this movie is what is the inversion of the first movie.
Yes, this movie is Kurt Russell's one and only writing credit ever. And actually, I read that John Carpenter had said that Kurt Russell pretty much wrote the entire final half of this movie, which is very telling.
Yeah,
in some ways,
it's got some gems here at the end. But again, I do think there's a fun element in the start of, again, I like the media propaganda apparatus. And I like this. There's a fun thing that they start to play with, which is like, when Snake tries to choke out the holograms. And, we thought you'd try that, fake bullets. When he's like, oh, you're not giving me the cure. And he Scarface them. They're like, ha, idiot. And so they're playing with it. But that adds another fun thing. Because I think the lady even refers to like, oh, Snake's so retro. Right? Like he feels out of place in this movie, in this era. Which is very true by the end. But there is kind of this fun...
That's actually one of my favorite lines in the movie.
Yeah, but so he gets out. He fucking ruins America at the end of the first one. Goes on to just start guns blazing, terrorizing Cleveland, which God only knows. If that's how bad New York and L.A. are, imagine the fucking hellscape that is Cleveland in this universe.
As a person from Cleveland, the amount of Cleveland jokes in this, I was like, man, I cannot imagine how terrible Cleveland might be just a crater.
The place that was so bad it finally consumed Snake Plissken. but that's what I mean, right? So there's this fun element of nothing has changed, right? I think that's the line that Snake keeps referring to, right? The more things change, the more they stay.
The more things change, the more they're the same.
Right? Which isn't just about the screenplay, but is also about this hopelessness of Snake did all that. He saved the president, which was supposed to matter and help. Again, he ripped up his tape, though. And, of course, that guy, can't be memorizing speeches and shit. Neither here nor there. But what we see is that now we're just doing it on the opposite coast with the new guy. This is this kind of never-ending cycle. And so Snake being brought out, so they have all this new technology, all these highly trained people. The fact that this time they're still using Snake Plissken, it kind of gives it this cruel hand of fate feel, right? Where it is this never-ending wheel where Snake Plissken is the only kind of real person who's constantly just caught up in the melodramas of these fucking insane characters that he's always around.
Yes.
It's almost like a Twilight Zone version of hell, right?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's like Twilight Zone if Snake Plissken was the main character of the Twilight Zone.
But no, there's a great Twilight Zone, right, where it's the guy who's like, he's a massive gambler. And so he goes, and the guy grants him the power
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And all of a sudden he wins every hand at gambling, and every girl likes him, and he's like, I hate it. It's no fun if I don't lose every now and again. Because he's a big loser who wants to be a winner. And he wins all the time. Right. And this old man's like, you thought this was your heaven, but it's hell. And his hell is just getting all the pussy and money. And that was a really mind-blowing cool Twilight Zone for me when I was a kid. This feels like what's happening to Snake Plissken is that he's in this lifetime Twilight hell, right? Even Snake comes in and he's on his mission. He knows he's already been injected with poison and is dying. This time he only has 10 hours, right? The most absurd countdown clock of all time.
Yeah, the amount of time they give him is ridiculous. I'm like, no, he'll die.
Okay,
easily,
well,
without question.
Let me lay this out in 3 points, right? So one, he's dying of a venom. It's not something they can just take out. They said they have an instant syringe that'll take care of it. All right.
Instant cure all.
Fine, they're doing it again. Why does he only have 10? The first movie, it was, if you're not back by the time the Peace Summit's there and they leave, the world's over. This one, they don't really tell us why. They're just like, fuck you, 10 hours. You're like, what? I still have to get my fucking latex suit on. That's going to be 30 minutes. The math is so bad in this movie. But even in that, right? So Snake knows he's about to die. And he's like, I'll take the coat. And they're like, take it all, Plissken. And I was like, he's still stopping to do the fashion. It's kind of classic what Snake did in the first one, which is not rushing and trying to be cool. But it feels weirder in this one because everything is so fucking condensed, right? That him doing it in that one feels real. Because the next thing we see is him I'm going to cause a small nuclear explosion. And this one man's submergible because he's like, fuck you, I'm dying. It's like, you didn't care about changing for the coat. And at the end of the movie, he's fucking got 12 minutes left. he beats a guy up and has to unrobe him to get his coat back. I'll take my coat back, thank you. It's like, Snake, there's more important things going on here, sir. I know this isn't your first rodeo, but there's more important things than coat choice.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Snake Plissken we happen upon during the Escape from L.A. is certainly a more selfish Plissken.
Well, he's more
if that's
famous.
even possible.
That's the weird, is that the events of Escape from New York made him a fucking absolute folk hero. And the fact that he went
so
back
what you're
to
saying
crime.
is that, so in that case, based on what we talked about last time, like Plissken gets a full pardon, walks away, and he's just like, living in Fishers, Indiana, with his neighbors, having a good time. Like
he's just coming over to my house for a cigar. It's cool because I don't have daughters.
Just living his best life. He's there for almost 10 years, and finally 2013 rolls around.
That's not what I think happens.
He just gets that.
He just
gets that itch. Goes to Cleveland.
Yeah, I would imagine when President Wallace Doofus the Eighth or whatever realizes that he's been had, that pardon is no longer valid.
Yeah.
Right? Or
definitely.
Even if it is, Snake is so disillusioned because we kind of forgot two things in Escape from New York we should clean up real quick. Which is, one, there's an amazing scene when Snake confronts him at the end. He's like, a lot of people died trying to get you this tape. I want to know what you think about it. And the president gives him that same bullshit line, that stock line that he gave to the Air Force guys that died in the airplane 2 seconds later. When he's like, yeah, I thank them. I thank them for their sacrifice, blah, blah, blah. And then... So that tells you that Snake immediately, he just kind of looks at him like, you fucking sack of shit. Like, you piece of shit. Right. He's not bought in, right? And one of the things at the end is when, the police chief's like, hey, man, I want to offer you another deal. You should come work for me. And he's like, what do you say, Snake? And he's like, call me Plissken. Like, he's reclaimed his Americanness and his, soldier before he went rogue. At the start of this movie, the first thing he says, for cameras... which is a really nice branding moment, is kill me, Snake. See, it's right here on my belly. I put it there for you. And it's so he's back now, right? I think at the end of the first movie, he was reasserting I'm doing what's best for America, and realized, oh fuck, this is not cool.
I don't know if you
now
ever
he's
caught
going
this.
Snake again.
This is something I totally glazed over the last time I watched Escape from L.A., which was a while ago, but. They give up the ghost on what Snake Plissken's real name is, which is Bob.
Do they really?
Yeah. They call him like, Bob Snake Plissken. I'm like, wait a second.
Not even like a Christian Robert? Just fucking Bob.
Just Bob.
So clearly his parents loved him none. They're like, we're not going to waste the free ROERT on you. You're just a Bob now. Holy fuck. No wonder he's like getting fucking navel tattoos of a cobra and he's like, come Snake.
Bob. Oh, yeah. Oh, here he comes. Bob Snake Plissken.
I will say this. You describing Escape from L.A. as a movie where you glaze over a lot. That makes sense. It's so weird because I remember watching this in college a lot and always loving it more. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I was always on things in college. This is such a great stoner movie.
Yeah.
Let's actually jump ahead and let's talk about L.A., right? So last time we talked about the setting of Manhattan and all that adds. Let's talk about the setting of L.A. I think, now one, let's get this out of the way because I think it's kind of a poppycock critique, but the geography of this movie and the fact that you can just walk across L.A., like, from the Hollywood Bowl to Anaheim, period, within 9 hours, all that.
Well,
the idea that you can hang glide from the Hollywood sign to Anaheim.
Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, we don't walk from it. Well, it's not even from the Hollywood. Oh, yeah, it is from the Hollywood sign. Yeah. Sorry. They start at the Queen Mary, which is down in Long Beach. Again, this movie hinges on the fact that anyone who has seen it does not or has never been to Los Angeles. It's like,
right.
It's fascinating.
And again, I don't have a bit of a poppycock thing to talk about,
totally.
But it is.
Well,
this has like Game of Thrones travel rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Exactly. Like, again, I'm not even like, I wouldn't even call that a critique. Like, anyone who critiques is like, the geography of LA is very different.
What I'm saying, though, what it does for me is
great. Congratulations. You have a Thomas guide.
I don't care about the geography.
Not at all.
One of the things in this movie
so unimportant.
that doesn't work, in the first movie, I thought the ticking clock worked pretty well. Clearly, they were cheating a lot, right? But the island of Manhattan is very small and condensed. It's more conceivable. All right, if you had to get somewhere in like an hour, right? Like drive away over a bridge, whatever, maybe. Los Angeles is fucking big and spread out. So for some reason, they decided to make this a fucking 9 hours and change mission. And it was one of those things that aggravated me so much throughout, because there's nothing I hate in movies more than the false ticking clock. Where it's like, we're just going to rev up drama because we can't turn that up from what's in the scene. So we're going to add this false number that just doesn't make sense. And so, yes, I don't care about the geography. I care that I think the 9 hours was a wrong choice. I think that was a bit of a misstep. I mean,
in New York, again, like, you're right. New York is much more, first off, New York has a much more intense, like, grid.
Yeah.
So, like, the system is very easy to figure out how, like, you're either going up or down.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And again, I think, I've been to both places. I spent a lot of time in New York, and I can tell you right now, it's very easy to get around simply because I know what direction, if the street numbers are going up, obviously I'm going the wrong direction if I'm trying to get to First Street or something like that.
But I think there's a way they could have gotten, because I know this is the thing they did in the first movie, too, which is, why, when you give Snake a vehicle, does he not just drive away? I think there's a better way they could have done that in this movie. And also you have this impending war with Cuervo Jones, right? So maybe somehow tie that in, or Utopia.
Cuervo Jones.
We'll get to the namings in a minute. But so Cuervo or Utopia being more of the, he has to stop this war somehow. Maybe somehow there's one thing he cares about that's coming. I don't know what it is. But I feel
there's
like
a better ticking clock.
It didn't work for me in this movie, right? The ticking clock.
No,
I
agree, and I also think that, again, it's just a very different island. Like, if you're going to section off, like, basically what you're doing is sectioning off a piece of you're sectioning off Los Angeles down to Anaheim, which is like a lot.
Yeah.
If you like, Disneyland is not
Maui to Anaheim.
So it's like the Malibu, like basically like where I live, I get beachfront
Hell
property.
Yeah.
According to, which is awesome.
So anyways, geography aside,
but yeah, that's not
the ticking clock didn't. What I think works pretty well in this movie is this movie did a little more of the let's go to different parts of the city, and they're really taking a lot of like shots at LA in this movie, right?
Yeah, this movie is a lot about taking the piss out of Los Angeles, like to a extreme almost.
Right.
But
to me, one of the best scenes in the movie is in Beverly Hills, where we see 100%. Bruce Campbell's plastic surgery factory, where these people have tried to make themselves so perfect that I think they said they barely even have tendons and bones. They're like essentially
basically these people
monsters.
these people have done so much work to themselves that now that they can't get it fixed, like their skin just turns to jello, which is, again, it's awesome. Great. It's a great pastiche on Hollywood. It's a great pastiche on Beverly Hills itself. And Bruce Campbell is the perfect guy to be the Surgeon General of Beverly Hills. It's a great gag.
That one's awesome too, because you're like, they're still doing this in the midst of this LA's now an island apocalyptic theocracy. They're like, we still must get, like, for him to walk in and not be like, Snake Plissken here, some shit's going down. He's like, what a great eye. If only you had two of them. I was like, but that's what I like. What I always think works best stuff in these movies, right, is taking Snake Plissken and just setting him against these weird kind of Outlander characters, and just, walking through these strange worlds where only a guy that badass could walk through these strange worlds.
Yeah, I mean, this movie has a lot of weird for weird's sake, like Freak of the Week villains. Like the Surgeon General of Beverly Hills is a great example, but he's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's a great set piece. And again, it's just a lot of good, like, in-jokes about Los Angeles. It's a lot of really fun, like, menacing stuff about LA. Like, if you take something like that, everything about Los Angeles in here is entertaining, because if you take it to the nth degree, it gets terrible. Like, there's nothing about, like, everything that happens in this movie, particularly, like, with the adversities that Snake Plissken has to deal with are basically the nth degree of how terrible something like that, as simple as either like getting plastic surgery in Beverly Hills, which, yes, those people are awful. So, of course, they're going to be just like miserable Omega Men shamans who are just like chasing the dragon the whole time. And then, like, you know, you take it all the way to like you take it all to the way to like, I almost said Jose Cuervo, to Cuervo Jones' car, which just has like inexplicably has baby doll heads all over it. Like, there's all these little pieces. And then like Steve Buscemi and Peter Fonda, who are like my favorite characters in this movie. Peter Fonda has some of the best lines, and he's in maybe 3 minutes of this movie, just because he's Peter Fonda, man.
Yeah, his is why. Yeah,
because you got to include an old Venice hippie in a movie about L.A.
I was just like, could we find a way? Fuck! Could we find a way to use Peter Fonda in our surfing gag, like a little more, just like a little bit more?
I needed it. Needed it one more time.
When they start surfing, and he's like, "Bro, it's the big one, duck under, bro," and they're surfing, and Steve Buscemi looks over and has this look, and we see Snake.
The double take.
Yeah, it's awesome because you're like, "That's so fucking funny." But
it was
Snake
great.
in like the fucking wildly cartoonish blue, and he has that like Snake look, right? Like, you know, like that like focused Snake. And I was like, yeah, I get it. That's cool. Like, that's fun. But also,
yeah,
what the fuck? This was. It's like actually like making me upset because this is the movie, and I would say. The biggest flaw of the movie is not the ticking clock that doesn't work for me. It's not the repetitiveness, right? The thing that was hard for me to suffer in this movie was seeing Snake Plissken go through what I myself have gone through in my life, which is where as you get older, you're like, fuck, I'm not cool anymore. This was the movie where like 3 to 5 times I see Snake Plissken doing uncool things, right? The first movie, it's all walking, trying to get laid in the middle of his death, killing a man with a spiky baseball bat. Yeah, like whipping ass and being cool, right? In this movie, I see Snake Plissken on a hang glider.
Yeah, let's list this off.
Let's list this off. No one has ever looked cool in a hang glider.
No one.
Not once. If
Period.
you took who's the coolest guy of all time that you can think of? The coolest guy ever.
Coolest guy ever? I don't know. I mean, does he have to be real?
No. I mean, let's not say that this is like a real thing, right? Master Splinter from the Ninja Turtles. That guy's cool.
Sure.
Uncle Iroh from Avatar, right?
There we go.
These are cool.
Do Uncle Iroh.
I guess I have a theme of who I think's cool. That guy on a hang glider sucks. It all sucks. Jason Momoa, right? Chugging a beer on a hang glider sucks. I don't want that in my movie.
Doesn't matter. Always terrible.
This movie also has the unfortunate. I think this is the Michael Jordan curse, which is in this era. We had movies with very famously badass characters that we loved, looking super uncool, playing basketball, right? And I'm talking about Ripley and Snake Plissken. Ripley's is a little more
get to
egregious.
Ripley another time.
Yeah, because they're like, what's the one thing, what is the one activity that a woman could only do if infused with xenomorph DNA? Basketball. And you're like, whoa, that is a fucking swing and a miss right there. That is poor decision making, right? Also, it's space. Like, fuck up. But this one, watching Kurt Russell not know how to dribble a basketball and making bank shots. Again, I'm not like a hardcore hooper, but I had my phase. I was like a player for a while. I played at the local gym, and you never want to be the guy who gets made fun of, like, you know, oh, fucking just throwing up bullshit bank shots. Watching Snake Plissken be the fucking terrible old white guy on the basketball court, it reminded me of when I was watching the Matrix trilogy, and I was like, wait, Neo's not the one, he's like the 18th? Well, that feels less cool.
It's not just that, though. Like, it's the very action, like we talked about this in the last one, like everything Snake does is just cool in Escape from New York.
He's effortlessly cool in the first one.
He's effortlessly cool. This one, the effort is so there. Like you're like, dude, you have got to stop. Like he's that guy at the bar who's like wearing a necklace, who like clearly never wears jewelry ever, but like that's how he feels.
And he's
young
constantly
right now.
like tugging at it, so you'll notice it.
Constantly like, oh.
I'm not gonna say that I've never been that guy, but I'm saying I haven't been that guy more than once.
Yeah, he's that guy at the bar wearing a thumb ring. Like it's those guys.
That actually has a specific meaning. You can Google it.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, so the basketball scene though itself, so him doing it seems uncool. And then I said this when we were talking about it before the show. It just reminds me of that scene in The Office when Michael Scarn is flipping a coin to decide if he's going to save the world or not. Man. And he's like, best 3 out of 5.
No,
and you're like,
imagine this.
Holy shit.
But this is what we see.
It has the same stakes.
We walk into the Coliseum, right? We walk into the Coliseum. We see two guys in like an early version of MMA fighting.
Yeah.
And if you lose, they bring out like a Gallagher-sized hedge trimmer. And you get to chop your opponent's head off. That's one sport
which would have been awesome.
Right? And so we go from that sport to, do you think you can make 5 baskets in a row with a 10-second shot clock? Boom. And you're like, that sucks. That's the worst choice I've ever.
Why can't we just do the fighting thing? I was like, why are we moving past this?
The fighting with the giant hedge trippers is amazing. Like,
it's awesome.
What if Cuervo Jones is like, hey, all you rich white people of L.A. who've been abusing gardeners for so long, this is now your punishment, and all the rich whites have to fucking fight each other with lawn maintenance stuff. Like, that's a fun L.A. thing that you could laugh at.
Right, and instead, again, they're just playing basketball. Like that. Like the first thing you happen upon is some rich white who like can't make a bank shot to save his life, and they just blow him away on the court, and you're like, why is this happening like this? It's so
basketball.
Weird. And then,
but it's the curse of Michael Jordan, because at that time, they're like, who is the coolest and most iconic sports thing? Michael Jordan. And it's like, there's a reason he's like that, because he looks cool doing it. Snake and Ripley do not. It's so, like, watching that today actually hurt me, because I had the thought, I was like, fuck, I've been telling my brother, like, I want to get back in a league. And I was like, I will look like Snake. It's the one time I'll look like Snake Plissken, is trying to play basketball again, like not dribbling well, like trying to make bankers. It hurt.
Well,
but that is one of the things of the movie, right? Which is Snake dealing with this. Everyone thinks he's not as tall as he should be and slower and whatever. So maybe that's what they're going for. It felt like, I was like, dude, the giant hedge trimmers. That is futuristic sports to me. That's apocalyptic sports. Like, I wanted him to get in there with the guy who looked like he was in Guar and do the fucking hedge trimmers. I don't want to see him shoot layups. I don't want to watch that.
Again,
Baffling.
it's just like, it's one of those things that happens in a movie. It's rare that you see, like, you only know afterwards that the plot stopped dead in its tracks at some point. This is like one of the few times in a movie where you're like, wow, we are just stopping this movie to watch Kurt Russell play basketball by himself.
Well, this is the weird thing, because in the first movie, it had this kind of ceremonial honor amongst thieves kind of thing. When Snake Plissken actually wins, Cuervo's just like, oh, I have to shoot him. And I was like, bitch,
fuck this. I'm going to shoot him anyways. You're like,
what
all
the
right,
fuck?
cool. So it doesn't even matter. Like, why didn't you just shoot him to begin with?
Yeah, and they're even like the crowd's chanting his name. You know, this town loves a winner. And it's like, all right, make that matter then. Don't just do it because it was in the first movie. And also, you're like, because unlike the first movie where they have nothing going on, they think they're just going to leisurely stroll the next day. Cuervo is like forming a beachhead where he thinks he's getting a military copter and they're going to have this fucking invasion. I was like, you have bigger things to worry about.
Everything gets made up for that scene though because of, and I'm telling you, I've never laughed harder than that fucking Steve Buscemi double take.
It's the best.
When Kurt Russell is surfing next to his car, I laughed so fucking loud. But I woke my kid up from a nap. That's how loud I was laughing.
If you're going to do campy and weird, that's how you do it. Because that one, again, you're like, this doesn't look right. Why is this happening? But then as it unfolds, you're like, it is undeniably enjoyable, right? You're like, not ideal in any sense of the word, 100%. But it fucking works. Through alchemy, it works. The surfing works.
Yes.
The Beverly Hills people, that fucking works, right? Like, a lot of this stuff is good, man. But then you get to the basketball, you get to the hang gliders, and you're like, there just gots to be something better than this.
At that point, pre-hang gliders too, you think you're almost on a roll because Pam Grier shows up as, man, wow. So Pam Grier shows up as, I don't remember if she had a last name, but Hershey. Was it a last name?
Hershey's the name, and then we find out Hershey. It was Carjacker Jones, right?
Carjack Malone.
Yeah, by the way, the names are almost in-your-face racist in this movie.
Yeah, Cuervo Jones,
a black
Hershey,
man named Carjack Malone, who changes his name to Hershey. And then, Cuervo Jones. You're like, you are not even, like, trying to hint around. It's just like, it's so in your face. It's like, Jesus, Carjack Malone. I mean, like,
Carjack Malone. Again, like, I think, like, I remember we were watching it today, and my wife was like, what's the bad guy's name? Like, Cuervo Jones. And she was like, oh my God. I'm like, I know. He should just be called, like, Mexican McMexican face.
Yeah, your
like,
Guatemalan wife was just like, really? Yeah. Your Guatemalan wife didn't like
my Guatemalan wife was just like rolling her eyes into the back of her head. She goes, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "It's whites making this movie. Just relax."
Wow, yeah, that's a rough one, man.
It's real bad.
Oh my God! But let's talk about some things we liked.
Yeah,
I liked the Utopia beat in this one. I thought that was cool, man.
I do too.
I thought tying her and her dad were really good in this movie. I like those two characters a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, it's so weird to see Cliff Robertson in a role other than Uncle Ben, because that's just that's just where everyone knows him from now. Like, I remember seeing him in other movies.
This could have been Uncle Ben. Like, he was a little preachy all the time. Let's be all that great responsibility bullshit.
He was great. Utopia, his daughter's great, and again, like, she has a great, like, I like that story beat a lot. I like this, like. I like the Patty Hearst with regrets vibe that she gives the whole time. And again, that's really fun. I think Steve Buscemi's a fucking blast.
That one, Utopia is amazing because she's raised by this dad and all she does is sit in virtual reality, right? Because the world sucks. The one thing she knows for sure is that her dad is a cock. That's the one. She's like, I don't know a lot about the real world. I don't like it. I like VR. When I'm not on my headset, I know my dad's a cock and he should not be president, right? So she escapes, and then she realizes that the real world is fucking awful. It's just awful everywhere. And that on both sides of this ideological war, there's bad dudes. And she sees Snake Plissken, also a bad, bad man who is a criminal, who occasionally has been nice to like one or two characters in the entire series, often who it seems like he might try to make a pass at while he's dying. She turns to him and is just like, please God help me. So she is going through it. And I think that and her dad, those journeys I really liked. I liked the scene when after the earthquake hits, right? At the basketball game, you know, they're just like, start shaking it. We don't know how to move the story. Shake the whole world. We cut back, and the president is now under the desk kind of praying. I think it's awesome that instead of becoming this strong, like he's wielding the Bible as a weapon, he feels like he actually is a true believer, right? And then later when he's like, I'm going to my quarters, and Stacy Keach is like, follow him. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. I love that, you know, it's not just this like, you know, cynical false believer. Like, he feels like he might actually really think he's like a chosen one, and there's an angry God shaking the world.
Oh no, I mean, Cliff Robertson commits and makes me believe the entire time. But what I love though is you say this because I agree. Like, he has all these great beats where he's a believer and all that shit. But to be honest with you, every time it all just feels like, and it could just be John Carpenter playing on my cynicism as like ex-Catholic, but like all I see is someone who's just faking it. Because then at the very beginning of the movie, not as dumb as he looks, I guess. Like, he's like such a dick at the very beginning of this movie. Right. And I'm like, there's no way someone who's that dependent on Jesus.
No, but that's
also, that's my preconceived notions.
Well,
you know?
Because he knows that Snake's not religious, he would judge the fuck out of him. That rings true to my religious experience. Also, Everyone who's super religious knows in their heart of hearts, to use their terminology, that they're fucking lying. Right? Like, I have a neighbor, not to be too specific. I blocked him on Facebook because he invited me to church once. I was like, hard block, immediate. Like, nope, not a thing, right? He's like, come have fellowship. And I was like, blocked. Like, that's not what we do here. That's not. But that's the thing. I was like, he's real into the Jesus thing, right? In his heart and heart, deep down in his soul, he knows for a fact that he's never talked to Jesus or God, and that neither of those made-up cartoons give a fuck about him. So, in that respect, this Presidente is actually kind of perfect, right? He's a guy who wants to be the, Snake, you're a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
But then when everything falls apart, he is this weak little man who's falling back on his superstitions. I thought he played it really well. I think that switch between losing it again, and Snake in the grass, right? Or Snake in the garden, as it were. I thought that was cool.
But no, I agree.
Did I go too hard on my neighbor? Should I not have done?
I don't think it matters. I
he definitely doesn't listen.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't necessarily a 700 Club. That's the second 700 Club reference I've made in 2 pods.
We haven't done enough Kirk Cameron movies yet. He's like, enough of that Kurt Russell. Where's the Kirk Cameron? That's not really what he sounds like. That's how I hear him, but that's not his real voice.
But yeah, I mean, Cliff Robertson's great. He does such a good job of selling you that he's a shitbag either way, which is awesome. I think, again, you can't do The President's in Danger twice. I love what they did this time. Like, that's like now something that is
let's
really,
get to this. The ending of this movie, I thought, really slams it home, right? The ending, the shootout, and what I believe they kind of make a pun as like Disneyland, like something bad happened in Paris. You know, Disney Paris or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, this was like in the early 90s, or the mid-90s, so like they make a huge... Again, there's a lot of like weird inside baseball jokes throughout the entire movie about like movie and like business in general, and I'm like, no one's going to know what they're talking about here.
Like my mom would just be like, that's a strange thing to say on a hang glider. You should be
right. I'm like, the only reason I know anything about that is because of the fucking Imagineering documentary on Disney Plus. I'm like, cool, I get that joke now.
All that stuff, like you're like, all right, shooting stuff, blah blah. The funny part is when Buscemi jumps out of the plane because he thinks it's going down, and then he's like, "Hey!" That was great.
Jump back for me.
So then this like ultimate camp fest, right? The basketball and the surfing and the plastic surgery people. Then we get to the ending. And they actually dropped this really fucking cool ending on us out of nowhere. And to me, this is the stuff, again, Utopia and her father, just Snake Plissken in general, and this ending. This is kind of what I really like about this movie, right? So the ending essentially is Snake shows up, right? He's got a device. Utopia's got a device. They catch her. They think they've got the real device. Snake's sitting there. The president's like, I'm going live, right? So now we're operating the propaganda again, which is fun. And he's going live. In live, he says, hey, don't come for America or I'm going to fuck you up with these. They have this ring of EMP satellites and nukes.
Yeah.
And that's it. Doesn't work. And he's like, oh, you fucking... It's the, it's Buscemi's map of the star thing.
It's Buscemi's map to the stars, which is great. With that fucking Randy Newman song in the background.
Yeah. And then we cut back to now Snake is hologram their ass, right? Which we had, that was going to be the payoff. Make sure you use it when it counts, right? They even told us it was coming, and I forgot about it. I didn't see it coming. I love it, right? And actually switching with Utopia, that's a pretty clever, because Stacy Keach even says it, right? Like, you become pretty predictable, Snake. And we fall in, because we're like, of course, that's the movie we're doing. And they fucking get us, right? And then... the idea of Snake resetting the world. How did that hit you? What did you make of this ending?
I mean, it's just so big. Like, I think that's the thing that always, whenever I've seen this movie, that is the thing that always hits me is I'm like, that is like the level of consequence is shocking. Like, I think that's the thing that always I'm just like taken aback by is I'm like, the world is shut down. Like 500 years worth of development is gone. So now, and then he like, I mean, and again, it's one of my favorite, like,
and you
Snake
love it
Plissken
because
moments.
you're like, we've done this world twice. And you're like,
yeah,
it's really not worth saving. That's all these movies constantly tell us.
And again, and it has the best, like this Snake Plissken and like in any other movie, this ending would fucking suck. But the reason it's so good is simply because it's Snake Plissken. Because at the beginning of the movie, they tease that he gets a thing of matches. They're like, what's this do? And like, just matches. Good old fashioned matches. You're like, cool, matches. Why not? Fucking Snake takes one out, lights a cig, looks right at the fucking camera as the fade out. And I'm like, oh my God. And then over black, welcome to the human race. Like, fuck.
See,
yeah,
I had
dude.
a question about that, though, because I had to rewatch that
Fuck,
a couple times
What
today.
a fucking line.
Because one, I was like, who the fuck is he looking at? And two, where did those cigarettes come from?
I thought he found him on the ground.
He found him on a tree stump. Who the fuck is leaving cigarettes on a tree? That's why I, honest to God, thought this movie was setting up for that Snake is staring down an alien who, like, came down. Right? Like, when they do, what is that, the day the Earth stood still, and that one alien's like, I'm here to judge you guys.
Dude.
Is Snake Plissken just, like, meeting a guy, and he's like, what's up, alien? Is this all, or maybe this is the simulation, like, now maybe the architect's oh, good day, it's me,
now you're
Colonel
talking my
Sanders
language,
accent.
though. How fucking rad would a third sequel of this movie be? Because we did some research, by the way, and found out that actually the movie Ghosts of Mars was supposed to be the third Snake Plissken movie.
Yeah.
And because this movie did so poorly, they scrapped it. But, like, how fucking awesome would a second, like, Escape from Earth? How fucking rad would that have been?
Escape from Earth. That's what I mean. It felt to me. Because that really tripped me up. I was like, where the fuck did those cigarettes come? Because Stacy Keach just finished telling us, right? No red meat, no women, no smoking, which is funny because it's like Stacy Keach has made his career off of characters that do all those things. Right?
All those
like
things.
Red meat,
every
smoking,
single one of
whiskey,
them.
like that's it. So him doing all that, the land of the free, right? That I thought was cool, but I swear to God, I thought this ending was saying aliens approved of what Snake Plissken did. The ancient aliens, they're coming back, and they're like, finally.
I'm telling you right now, I would be fine with that. And if that's your interpretation, I accept that. And I'm like, that is a missed opportunity of a third movie.
But that's what I say. The ancient aliens are like, we were just waiting to come back to where people could sculpt us out of clay again. Finally, we can revisit our favorite tourist destination. You guys were getting a little wild with those 50-foot walls and theocracies and shit. This is way better. I thought it was rad because it's essentially Snake Plissken has spent 2 movies in this America hellscape, right? All of the worst kind of things about America drawn out to these wild extremes. And he becomes our anchor. It's weird. He becomes kind of our America. He's our country that we're rooting for. And he just says, fuck it. You guys all suck. Like, no one is worthy of saving. And he fucking gets rid of all of it. And he stops the execution of Utopia. The dad, I love that line too, when the dad's like, and he so loved his country that he gave up his, cheating, traitorous daughter. I was like, yeah, this guy's like back into like crazy theocrat. I just thought it was super fun. And then you add in the alien shit. I thought that was cool, man. There was another thing that I actually really liked. I forgot. They added a cool concept in this movie that didn't last very long. It kind of got ended by a bullet really fast. But I liked the moment where he was talking to the girl on the 405. And she was like, essentially, this is the only free place left on Earth. Because in both these movies, it is one of those, they put you on an island. And you guys just go there as long as you're not with us and you don't cross. You guys have this. And she's kind of like, once you figure it out here, it's not that bad. At least I can still wear a fur coat. That feels like a weird hill to die on, but like we'd all have our things. But I thought that was a really cool idea. And again, pairing that with what Cuervo's trying to do, becoming this kind of like propaganda, becoming a theocrat himself. I thought that was a cooler thing they could have ran on, but that scene was fantastic. I like that idea.
It's a great scene. Again, I love that. It also feels like another dig at L.A. because like she literally goes through this whole diatribe like it's not such a bad place, and then boom, gets fucking blown away. And you're like, got it. Los Angeles is terrible. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Utopia is like the L.A. story 101, which is like, I came out here because I thought it'd be cool, but everyone's freaks and it sucks. I want to go back home. I was like, Utopia really hammers that home.
There's so many like LA in jokes. I really don't have a problem with like any of them. You know what? I did want to, at the very beginning of the movie when he gets to LA, he starts walking through downtown because he's trying to hunt down the one soldier that still has the heart monitor going.
Yeah.
And he walks in and finds these guys like throwing knives at him and shit. The guy who fucking antagonizes Snake is I never remember the guy's name. Is it David? One of the Carradines from the one from Revenge of the Nerds.
Not David Carradine. No.
No. The one from Revenge of the Nerds. That's all I know. That's one of the movie I know him from. And he's the dad in Lizzie McGuire. But like. His bit is so funny because I'm like, oh, is that gonna last? Where he's gonna like just chase him through the streets with knives, be like, come back here and face me, like the whole time, and then like Snake just turns around and just blows him away, and you're like, all right, cool. Like there's a lot of those little bits in this movie that are really fun and entertaining. There's just like great character moments.
Yeah,
and I really enjoy that about this movie is that Escape from L.A. for all its warts is also really just like fun, fucking turn your brain to mush kind of movie, man. Like,
yeah, this one goes completely overboard with camp, right? So the way I frame it in my mind, where it works for me, is that this is Snake Plissken's life being retold by people that don't really understand what he's about, right? And it's just kind of this bigger, sillier version of the first. And again, it manages to be fun throughout most of the film. And then at the end, I love the idea of Snake Plissken just being like, enough is enough, and just pulling the fucking plug on himself. And just having one more talk with that ancient alien, and like, that's it. It's a fucking thunder ending. But yeah,
that's a fucking good beat, man.
Yeah,
I really hope that was the
plug on his
intention.
own franchise is amazing.
Yeah,
it's good.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, I look back on the Escape movies, and one of them is kind of has this like gritty, small feel that was awesome of that late 70s into the 80s vibe. And I think it's hard when you wait 16 or so years to do this in the late 90s and the kind of movies we were making then. And it doesn't capture that vibe of Escape from New York, but it doesn't really try. It just says, all right, we'll show you what that movie looks like now. And it's sillier and bigger, but there's a lot of memorable beats in this.
Yeah. I mean, that's the joy of this kind of movie is like, while it's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, it's no less entertaining. And I think that to me is what makes John Carpenter my kind of filmmaker. Is John Carpenter makes these kinds of movies that while it might not be your kind of movie per se, you're still going to enjoy the hell out of yourself. And that to me is an overall value you cannot put a price on when it comes to movies.
Yeah. Well, this movie from other filmmakers, I don't think I would have found the joy in. And also, I mean, there is like, just wish fulfillment in seeing a guy you loved and a character you love get to come back almost 20 years later. And, you know, it might not be the same. It might not be. It's kind of like Mike Tyson's talking about coming back to fight boxing now in his 50s. You're like, that'll probably suck, but I'll watch it. And I'll like it.
Exactly. Great way to put it.
There you go, guys. That's it for Escape, period, from New York and from L.A. We'll be moving on next week with The Pod Calls It Carpenter month. All things John Carpenter, as many as we can get to this month. We're working on laying all that out. Maybe calling in some backup if we need. You, the fans, chose from a list of our remaining options, The Fog. So that'll be our wrap-up movie this month. Amazing fucking
Killer choice,
movie.
guys.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, again for listening. Please take a second and leave that rating and review, especially on Apple Podcasts app. It helps us out a ton. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Nerd Alchemist. That's plural with an S at the end. Please give us a shout-out on your social medias. All of them you have, we're there. You can connect with us and give us a shout-out. Help us bring more people in. email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com, with your ideas on movies, themes, guests, double features, new stuff, old stuff. If you think our ideas are dumb, anything we missed, just any way you guys want to get a hold of us, we're here and available for that.
Even write us a letter. Here's my personal address. It is just kidding.
Dick pics. All right, dick pics, as long as you have the Snake Plissken tummy tat, then it's okay.
Yeah, Snake
only to
Plissken
us,
tummy
not to
tat
him.
or no dice.
All right, guys, that's it. We'll be back next week with more awesome John Carpenter movies. For the Film Alchemist, I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex Dandino.